Good morning, everyone. You're all welcome to be here today. My name is Joshua. I'm the main organizer of this seminar today. And the topic has been it's about how to put climate change communication digital. That is just a caption of what I thought should be the topic of the seminar. Uh, I would just want to give it a background of myself. Originally, I'm from Cameroon, and I moved and I lived in South Africa for 10 years, studied there. Then I moved to Sweden in 2010. From then on, I've been so much engaged in environmental issues. I've been trying to figure out how to communicate environmental challenges. The reason being that I've studied in different universities, and I realized that different universities have different ways of looking at environmental communication. And also it's important to understand that in every subject we study, there is an aspect of environmental communication. So in that context, I will just give a background of my education. I have a bachelor's in international development from London University, and I also have a bachelor's in political science at Stockholm University, a master's in communication for development at Malmö University, and a master's in political science at Södertörn University, all in Sweden. So I have a broadened perspective on issues that are connected to the environment. And I've also taken a bunch of courses in environmental communication. So what I realized along the line is that there are different ways we can think about disseminating information about environmental problems. And there is no right or wrong way. But more often than not, we are so much engaged in getting information from the epistemic community. What does that mean? I mean like scientists and stuff like that. So I thought in 2022, when I started this small project, I figured out how can we get a holistic perspective about environmental problems. The reason being that we always listen to the epistemic community. So I came up with an idea that, okay, now we should engage everyone, not just me sitting here and talking and telling you about what is happening in a specific area like in Sweden without knowing what is happening in some area like Somalia. So we thought like it is very important to engage everyone, not just telling everyone. So the expectations for today was that the audience should be right here. Everybody share his or her own knowledge, what that person understands about the environment, what is affecting a particular place based on the context of that place. So in that scenario, I believe that we are going to learn more as opposed to someone sitting here and telling the audience all the time. So that is why I put the caption was putting climate change communication digital. It's not just online, it's different ways in which we can talk about, communicate environmental issues. So one of the topics that I was thinking of asking the audience, if any audience was here. If you're online, you could also contribute with your own feedback. Well, the first topic on my program was environmental communication and the role of experts. So I wanted us to discuss these issues together. What does that really mean? How do you understand it? Do we really believe that only experts have the knowledge about what is happening in a specific, in the environment? So that is one of the topics that I thought would have been very, very important if the audience was there to share their own knowledge and stuff like that. But what I would want to say about that, well, I believe that the expert knowledge is pretty good. But we have to understand that society changes, society evolves, and every society has its own context based on the culture, based on religion, based on the politics. So we cannot take a specific context and generalize. So if we get information, if we sit around and share knowledge about the environment, about what is affecting our specific area based on own specific knowledge, that is expert knowledge. It doesn't mean that you should be an expert, a scientist, to be able to talk about issues that affect your specific area. So that is very important to me. So how do we do that? Do we continue expecting experts to tell us what is going on? I think we should change the paradigm to sharing our own specific knowledge in a forum where audience is sitting, everybody stand up and say something. Because when I attend conferences with an audience of maybe 500, just 3 people sitting there and telling the audience a lot of different, based on their own knowledge, based on their expert knowledge. But in that audience, it is very certain that there are many, many people there with their own knowledge about the topic. So if it is allowed for everybody to share the knowledge with, with the colleagues or the participants there, I think that would be a great step forward, because people live there, get to understand what different people understand, as opposed to just someone sitting there giving you some kind of a specific knowledge, epistemic knowledge. So that is one of the things that I thought we should start doing, sharing knowledge based on our own specific experiences, what we see in our own communities. That is very important. So one of the other topics that I thought it would have been so important for us to talk about is, what are the roles of environmental communication? What do you understand? What does that mean? What can you tell us about that? How can you communicate? What can that portray to the society to change our mentality on how we interact with the environment? So that is one of the questions that I wanted us to discuss like a group, because I believe in everybody giving a feedback, not like just giving what I know to the audience. So those who are probably listening, if you can give a feedback by sending us a text. What do you really think? What are the roles of environmental communication in your own context, in the way you interact with your environment, with the politicians in your own area? How do they communicate? How do you communicate with them? How do you communicate with there are different ways of communicating, even with the environment itself. So people have different ways of looking at that. People have different ways of interacting with that. So what the next point that I thought would have been very important for us to talk about is, why does environmental communication matters? What do you think is the fundamental dilemma of environmental communication? This is very important, and I would not want to give the theoretical background of this particular question, because the reason for this seminar was for us to share our knowledge. I think theoretically, it doesn't give any credence to the way we fight, we trying to interact with the environment, the way we are trying to solve environmental problems. Theory is just theory, but we want to get the practical knowledge of how that matters. How, when you talk about that, how when you see pictures about desertification, about environmental degradation, how do you communicate that? So that is pretty important. But it's unfortunate. It's always very difficult if in a platform like this, I'm just talking to myself. So it's pretty difficult to give a rundown of the context of the seminar. So that is just a basic, that is just a fundamental that I thought we should discuss, because I came with a couple of questions that I wanted us to sit like a seminar where we can all share our knowledge, give our own perspective on how we understand these issues. The reason, one of the things that comes down from this is that there is a plurality of legitimate perspective. So why this matters is, why should we not depend on epistemic knowledge? Why? That is the question. Why? The reason is, one, belief systems are really different. So we can't take what is being done here in Sweden as far as the environmental problems are concerned and relate to what is happening in Somalia. First and foremost, the belief system, some people are so much attached to the environment where naturally, whether they have that knowledge from the theory or not, they protect the environment based on their culture. They believe that they cannot destroy the environment, the immediate environment, because that is related to them. So that is different from other societies. So that is why we have to learn from each other. That is why we talk about environment, communication, like putting it digital, communicating these ideas from different areas on the internet, digital, for us to know, because we are living in different societies with different which have different contexts, ideologies, and cultures. So that is one of the points that I thought we would have been talking about, based on those who probably came here, who would tell us how do their culture influence them in interacting with the environment, in solving environmental issues. How does their religion influence them in communicating, in trying to solve environmental challenges? How does their politics? Because I just want to give an example in Sweden. I have studied at Stockholm University, Malmö University, and Södertörn University. What I realized that all these different universities, they have different ways of interacting, different ways of teaching environmental education. They have different ways in which they have environmental groups. They have different ways in which they kind of design their projects and stuff like that. So if we come together and share our knowledge and tell each other, okay, this is what we do in our own university, this is what we do in our own municipality, I think that is a great way to solve environmental problem, because there is not single perspective. Because even political solutions, even financial solutions, will not solve environmental issues. We need to broaden our perspective on how we can engage with the environment. And doing that, we need to come together, share our knowledge, share what we know from our own little areas. Even in your own little garden, you have a way in which you are trying to solve environmental problems. You know, small steps can help us know exactly what we can do in a holistic way to solve this problem. So that is important. That's why we try to figure out. That's why I started this project to see how not just talking to the audience, but for the audience to sit and we share knowledge just like a seminar. Because like if you go to the university in Europe or in Sweden, it's different from attending a university in Africa, because like in Sweden, most of the lectures are not based on a lecturer sitting right there and telling students, this is what is happening, this is what I'm teaching you. It's based on seminars. What does that mean? They have a topic for the day, a lecture for the day. The lecturer will, okay, this is a question. They sit with the students, and the lecturer is just sitting there, and the students give their own perspective based on how they kind of assimilate that question, based on how they understand that question. In that context, when students give all their different perspectives, then now you can relate it to the text, to the theory that you hear about. Okay, the environmental issues are caused by, capitalism. And so when you get this perspective, you come and say, okay, how does that relate to our present context? So that is important. That is why we designed this platform, not for sitting here and telling the audience, but for the audience to discuss the issues and say, okay, this is what we come out of this seminar with today. As probably you might know, if you go to many seminars or conferences, you most often go there with a vague knowledge of what is spoken there, because it's someone sitting there and telling you, what is going on and how the theories say, how science say. Yes, of course, science works, but we should change the focus and give the platform for the audience to share knowledge. From there, I think there's a likelihood that we are going to come up with very, very tangible solutions to environmental issues, because it gives us knowledge, a broader knowledge of how we can understand environmental issues based on different perspectives. So that is very important. So that is the basic idea that I designed this this seminar. When we go further, it would be very, very important for us to have an audience, so that the audience can actually participate in sharing their knowledge, sharing their perspective about environmental issues. Because communication, environmental communication is pretty the most important topic the most important way for us to actually solve environmental issues. Because financial solutions, as we know, even political solutions are not enough. People need to understand how things happen in different parts of the world. And to be able to understand that, we need a platform to share this knowledge by discussing the issues, not like by telling people the issues. We need to deliberate on that. That is the most important way to get things right. So I think it's, as I said before, that is the main idea. And I'm sure some people some participants are online, but it's rather unfortunate that it's very difficult to kind of like speak in an empty room just by yourself. And also, the way the seminar was designed was for participants, audience, to sit together and share their perspective, not like someone, not like me sitting here and talking to an audience. So that is the basic idea that we had, the basic idea that this seminar was formulated. But it's unfortunate no one is here. Maybe a couple of people are online. I would say that it is the first time that we are having this, and we are learning from what I've seen. I think next time we're going to shape it in a different way, at least to have some participants here, and when they are participants, it is easier to communicate. But I'm basically talking to an empty audience. So to recap again, this day, my idea about environmental communication is basically coming from my background, and I've traveled around the world. I've experienced different ways in which different people interact with the environment. And even in my small community, even in Stockholm where I live, different municipalities have different ways of doing environmental, trying to, solve environmental issues. So we want to make sure that not just someone coming from one particular area and telling you that, okay, this is what the government does there, or this is what science say. We want to get ideas, and perspective from everybody, because the expert knowledge is something I don't know. That is expert knowledge. And we have a lot of people with expert knowledge that sometimes we miss some information because we so much engulfed in what is called an epistemic knowledge. So we want to change that perspective. Let us all be epistemic. Let us all share knowledge as far as environmental issues are concerned. So I'm really very, very happy that together with Goto, we want to start this in a different way, and this is just the first time we learn. It's always good to start something to learn. What are the loopholes? What are the challenges? So today, I think we've learned a lot, and how we are going to organize this further to make sure that we have an audience. It's not just online. We put it online because we thought like we are going to have an audience here. Then when the audience is sharing their perspective, those who are online will be following. But it's unfortunate that I'm just here alone, which is, is very difficult to do that. Talking to an empty room is very, very difficult. So I would say, maybe, I'm sorry, but as I just said, there are basic topics that I thought we could discuss today, which I said, environmental communication and the role of experts, and how we can get a platform where everybody share his or her own knowledge about environmental challenges in their own perspective, not just experts coming and telling the audience, okay, this is what science say. Of course, science is there, but we need different perspective. That is the reason we want to make it next time for everyone to be right here. because if it's just online, it's a little bit difficult to manage that, because it wasn't just online. We put it online because we wanted those who are probably out of Sweden, or who could not have time to come here to follow the seminar with us. So, so I would say this is just the context that the seminar was supposed to be followed. But as I just said, it would be I think it's a good thing for us to say, okay, today we managed to launch this platform. Subsequently, we are going to do it in a very constructive way to make sure that we have everything in place, we have the audience, then we can go forward. I really I would say appreciate those who took the time to come online to follow this, and you already scheduled this day for the seminar. But as you know, the format is a discussion format. It's not like a format that I was supposed to stand here and talk to the audience. So if there is no audience here, it makes sense to say it's not going to be tenable for me to continue talking. It's just going to be like, okay, we're going to reschedule, we're going to organize it in a more formal way where we get a bunch of people to take part in the seminar. That would be very, very constructive. That would be not knowledgeable. So I would say thank you for those who are online, because as I'm saying, it is very difficult to talk to an empty audience, right? So we would do with the GOTO, we are going to make sure that, and we are negotiating with the American Embassy, we're probably going to make sure we organize it in a way that we have an audience here. So that would come maybe in the next couple of months. We are going to see how we do that. So, so thank you so much. Thank you for those who came up to listen to us. We are going to come back to you next time. Thank you.